The message that would change humanity's destiny forever arrived on a stormy night at the Global Deep Space Listening Array in Antarctica. Dr. Samira Patel had been analyzing the usual cosmic background radiation when an unusual pattern caught her attention. At first, she dismissed it as another pulsar emission, but something about its regularity made her pause. "Control, this is Patel at Station 9, she spoke into her microphone, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm picking up an artificial signal. Pattern suggests intelligent origin." Within hours, the facility was buzzing with activity. The world's leading cryptographers and xenolinguists were pulled from their beds and rushed to the station. The signal was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, a complex series of light-based pulses that seemed to carry vast amounts of information. After 3 days of non-stop work, Dr. James Richardson, the team's quantum computing specialist, made the breakthrough. "It's not just a message," he announced to the bleary-eyed team. "It's a cry for help." The Luminari, as they called themselves, were an ancient civilization of bioluminescent beings who had evolved in the depths of their ocean world. Their message painted a grim picture: their binary star system was destabilizing far faster than their scientists had predicted. Within 5 years, both stars would go supernova, obliterating their entire solar system. Unlike humans, the Luminari had never developed significant space travel technology. Their civilization had focused on mastering their ocean depths, developing remarkable biotechnology and achieving harmony with their environment. Now, that same specialization threatened their existence. The United Earth Council convened an emergency session in Geneva. Representatives from every nation gathered to debate humanity's response. Admiral Teresa Santos, commander of Earth's combined space fleet, presented the stark reality of the situation. The Luminari number approximately 4 billion individuals, she explained, her holographic display showing their homeworld. They require high-pressure, oxygen-rich water environments to survive. Their biological structure is similar to some of our deep-sea creatures, but far more advanced. They communicate through bioluminescence and can manipulate their environment in ways we're only beginning to understand. Dr. Raj Kumar, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stepped forward. "Their biology is fascinating. They've evolved to withstand enormous pressures, similar to conditions in our deepest ocean trenches. They've sent us their complete biological data, their transparency is remarkable. They're peaceful, highly intelligent, and their technological achievements in biotechnology could revolutionize our understanding of life itself." The debate raged for weeks. Some nations argued that Earth had its own problems to solve. Others saw it as humanity's moral obligation to help. Security experts worried about the risks of hosting an alien civilization. Economic advisors calculated the astronomical costs of any rescue attempt. But it was Dr. Fatima al-Rashid, a young marine architect, who provided the solution that would turn the tide of debate. "We don't need to build them new worlds," she said, pulling up detailed scans of Earth's ocean trenches. "We already have perfect habitats for them right here. Our deepest ocean trenches match the conditions of their home environment almost exactly. With their knowledge of deep-sea construction and our space travel capability, we could save their entire civilization." The proposition was revolutionary. Earth's deep ocean trenches, largely unexplored and unutilized by humanity, could become sanctuary zones for an alien civilization. The Luminari's expertise in deep-sea technology combined with human space travel capabilities could make the impossible possible. Director Marcus Zhang of the United Earth Council rose to make the historic announcement. "Today, humanity faces a test of its character. We have the ability to save an entire civilization. The Luminari have offered to share their remarkable biotechnology and knowledge with us, but that's not why we should help. We should help because we can, because we must. Because if we want to call ourselves a civilized species, we cannot stand by and watch another intelligent, peaceful civilization face extinction." The vote was nearly unanimous. Operation Deep Haven was authorized, becoming the largest cooperative effort in human history. As humanity prepared for its greatest challenge yet, a message was sent back to the Luminari: hold on. We're coming. In the depths of space, traveling at the speed of light, humanity's promise raced toward a dying star system. For the first time in its history, humanity would step forward not as conquerors or explorers, but as saviors. The greatest rescue mission in the history of two civilizations was about to begin. The Mariana Trench Control Center, a massive floating platform in the Pacific Ocean, hummed with activity. Dr. Fatima al-Rashid stood at the observation window, watching as the first construction vessels moved into position. 3 months had passed since Earth's decision to help the Luminari, and now the real work was beginning. Initial depth surveys are complete, announced Commander Nathan Williams, the project's head of operations. The Challenger deep section alone could house nearly 1 billion Luminari in comfort. That's assuming we can successfully build at these depths. The engineering challenges were unprecedented. No human structure had ever been permanently established at such depths. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench could crush a military submarine like an aluminum can. Yet, these were exactly the conditions the Luminari needed to survive. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A small advance team of Luminari had arrived on Earth via a hastily constructed transport ship. Among them was lead engineer Phosphora, whose bioluminescent patterns shifted in complex waves as she examined the human construction plans. Through the newly developed light translation interface, Phosphora shared the secret of Luminari architecture. Their buildings weren't designed to resist the crushing depths, they worked with them. The structures would use the pressure itself as part of their support system, creating a perfect balance between internal and external forces. "It's brilliant," Dr. al-Rashid exclaimed, reviewing the modified plans. "We've been thinking like surface dwellers, trying to build walls strong enough to hold back the pressure. The Luminari approach uses the pressure itself as part of the structure. It's like turning your enemy into your ally." The construction of the first habitat module began immediately. Named Haven 1, it was assembled in sections on the surface before being carefully lowered into the depths. Luminari engineers, wearing specially designed water-filled environment suits, worked alongside human deep-sea construction teams. Their natural ability to withstand extreme pressures made them invaluable for the most dangerous aspects of the construction. The first test of their combined engineering came sooner than expected. As Haven 1 descended past the 8,000-meter mark, multiple warning alarms blared through the control center. The module's descent stabilizers were failing, threatening to send the massive structure into an uncontrolled plunge. "We need to abort," Commander Williams shouted, reaching for the emergency ascent controls. "Wait!" Dr. al-Rashid interrupted, pointing to the depth monitors. A swarm of glowing forms had appeared around the failing module. The Luminari engineers, led by Phosphora, had abandoned their safety suits and swum out into the crushing depths. Their bodies glowed with intense patterns of blue and green as they worked to stabilize the module. Using their natural ability to manipulate water pressure and their intimate understanding of deep-sea dynamics, the Luminari team guided the module safely to its foundation. What could have been a catastrophic failure instead became a powerful demonstration of what the two species could achieve together. As construction continued, more Luminari advance teams arrived on Earth. They brought with them their biotechnology, including their remarkable pressure adaptation techniques. This knowledge helped human engineers develop better deep-sea construction methods and safer diving systems. In return, humanity shared its space travel technology, preparing for the massive evacuation effort to come. The habitat modules grew more sophisticated with each iteration. They incorporated both human and Luminari design elements. Human materials science and engineering merged with Luminari biotech and pressure manipulation. The structures were beautiful, their surfaces embedded with bioluminescent compounds that allowed the Luminari to communicate naturally through their light-based language. But time was not on their side. Regular updates from the Luminari homeworld showed their binary stars becoming increasingly unstable. Solar flares and radiation bursts were growing more frequent and intense. The original 5-year estimate was revised down to 3 years. In response, construction efforts expanded to other deep ocean trenches around the world. The Japan Trench, the Puerto Rico Trench, and the Tonga Trench were all prepared to receive luminary refugees. A global network of underwater transport tubes, based on luminary technology, would connect these deep-sea sanctuaries. One evening, as the sun set over the Pacific, Dr. Al-Rashid found phosphor at their usual meeting spot on the observation deck. The luminary engineer's patterns glowed with what humans had learned to recognize as a mixture of hope and concern. "Your people have done more than save us," phosphor communicated through the light interface. "You've shown us that different paths of evolution, different choices in development, don't have to be barriers. They can be bridges." Dr. Al-Rashid smiled, watching the construction lights dancing in the darkness below. "That's what I love about engineering," she replied. "In the end, it's not about human solutions or luminary solutions. It's about finding the right solution, together." As Phase 1 of Project Sanctuary neared completion, humanity prepared for its next great challenge. The habitats were ready. Now they needed to transport 4 billion luminari across 50 light-years of space before their stars exploded. The greatest logistical challenge in human history was about to begin, and this time, failure was not an option. In orbit above Earth, the largest fleet ever assembled by humanity prepared for its historic mission. 500 massive transport ships, each modified with luminary biotechnology to carry thousands of passengers in pressurized water environments, hung like pearls against the black of space. Admiral Isabella Reyes stood on the bridge of the flagship Oceanus, reviewing the final preparations. Each ship had been equipped with revolutionary new engines that combined human fusion technology with luminary pressure manipulation systems, allowing for faster-than-light travel while maintaining stable conditions for their aquatic passengers. "Final systems check complete," reported First Officer Daniel Catry. "All ships report their biospheres are stable. The luminary environmental specialists confirm the water chemistry and pressure levels are optimal." The first wave of the evacuation would transport the most vulnerable members of luminary society, the young, the elderly, and those with specialized knowledge crucial for establishing their civilization on Earth. But before the main fleet could depart, an advance mission needed to establish the safe corridors and waypoints for the massive evacuation effort. "Pathfinder Squadron, you are cleared for departure," Admiral Reyes announced. A group of smaller, faster ships, crewed by both humans and luminari, detached from the fleet. Their mission was to map the safest and most efficient route through space, accounting for gravitational disturbances and radiation hazards. Leading the Pathfinder Squadron was Captain Lucia Ortiz, whose experience in deep space navigation made her the perfect choice for this crucial role. Her ship, the Stellar Compass, carried a unique crew, half human, half luminari, including the brilliant luminary navigator Prisma. The journey to the luminary homeworld took 3 weeks, even with the enhanced propulsion systems. As they approached the binary star system, the severity of the situation became clear. The larger of the two stars pulsed an angry red, its surface roiling with massive solar flares. The smaller star showed signs of imminent collapse. "The degradation is accelerating," Prisma communicated, their bioluminescent patterns flickering with concern. "We have less time than originally calculated. The stellar core instabilities are feeding off each other." Captain Ortiz immediately transmitted the data back to the main fleet. The evacuation timeline would need to be compressed. What they had planned to accomplish in 18 months would now need to be done in less than a year. The Pathfinder Squadron mapped the safest approach vectors and established quantum beacon arrays to guide the transport ships. These beacons, incorporating both human and luminary technology, would ensure safe passage through the increasingly treacherous space around the dying stars. Back on Earth, the deep-sea sanctuaries were ready to receive their first permanent residents. Dr. Al-Rashid and her team had completed the final adjustments to the pressure systems and biofilters. The network of transport tubes connecting the various trenches had been successfully tested. The first group of Luminari refugees arrived aboard the Oceanus. The sight of them emerging from the transport ships into Earth's oceans was breathtaking. Thousands of bioluminescent beings, their bodies creating rivers of living light as they descended into the depths. Human observers in pressure suits watched in awe as the Luminari transformed the dark trenches into cities of light. But the evacuation faced its first major crisis when a massive solar flare from the dying stars knocked out several quantum beacons. 3 transport ships, carrying over 50,000 Luminari, found themselves stranded in deep space. Captain Ortiz and the Pathfinder Squadron launched a desperate rescue mission. "We can't approach directly," Prisma communicated, their patterns showing intense concentration. "The radiation levels are too high. But we don't need to." They explained a daring plan that would use the Luminari's natural ability to manipulate pressure fields to create a safe corridor through the radiation. Working together, the human crew managed the ship's systems while their Luminari colleagues generated a massive pressure wave that pushed the deadly radiation aside. They reached the stranded ships and guided them to safety, not losing a single life. The success of this rescue marked a turning point in the evacuation. The combination of human space travel expertise and Luminari pressure manipulation abilities proved more powerful than anyone had anticipated. New protocols were developed, incorporating these joint capabilities into all future evacuation operations. As the first wave of refugees settled into their new homes in Earth's oceans, remarkable things began to happen. The Luminari's bioluminescent communication began to influence the deep-sea life around them. Earth's own bioluminescent creatures started responding to their patterns, creating new forms of interaction between the two world species. Marine biologists were astounded to discover that some deep-sea creatures were beginning to mimic Luminari communication patterns. The oceans themselves seemed to be adapting to their new inhabitants, creating a symphony of light and life in the previously dark depths. Admiral Reyes, watching the successful completion of the first wave, recorded in her log, "Today marks not just the rescue of one civilization, but the beginning of something far greater. In helping the Luminari, we're discovering new aspects of our own world, our own capabilities." Perhaps this is the true gift of this mission, the recognition that the universe's greatest achievements come not from solitary effort, but from the harmony of different peoples working as one. But as the first phase of the evacuation concluded successfully, a new threat emerged. Long-range sensors detected growing instabilities in both stars' cores. The timeline they thought they had was shrinking rapidly. The race to save the Luminari civilization was about to become even more desperate. The situation at the Luminari homeworld had become dire. The binary star's deterioration was accelerating exponentially, their combined radiation making each evacuation run more dangerous than the last. Admiral Reyes stood before the holographic display on the Oceanus, watching as another solar flare erupted from the larger star. "We've evacuated just over 2 billion, First Officer Katri reported, but we're losing our safe approach corridors faster than the Pathfinder Squadron can establish new ones." The evacuation fleet had been operating continuously for 6 months, pushing both ships and crews to their limits. The space around the Luminari homeworld had become a deadly maze of radiation storms and gravitational distortions. Each journey required increasingly complex calculations and perfect timing. On the Luminari homeworld, the situation was even more precarious. The once beautiful purple oceans had turned a sickly gray as increased radiation penetrated the planet's weakening magnetic field. The remaining Luminari had retreated to the deepest trenches, their cities protected by massive pressure shields that combined their traditional technology with human engineering. Governor Lumina, the Luminari's chief administrator, transmitted regular updates to the fleet. Their patterns, usually a calm and steady blue, now pulsed with urgent yellows and reds. "Our deepest sensors indicate the larger star will go supernova within 2 months, not the 6 we originally calculated. The smaller star will follow within hours." The news sent shockwaves through the evacuation effort. 2 billion Luminari remained on their homeworld, with the fleet's current capacity able to transport only about 50 million per run. The mathematics were brutal, at their current pace, they would lose over half the remaining population. But humanity had no intention of accepting those numbers. On Earth, an emergency conference of the world's leading scientists and engineers convened. Dr. Al-Rashid presented a radical proposal that would push both human and luminary technology to its absolute limits. "We can't make more ships," she explained, "but we can make the ones we have carry more." Her team had been working with luminary biotechnologists to develop a new form of suspended animation, combining the luminary's natural pressure adaptation abilities with human cryogenic technology. The process would allow the transport ships to carry 5 times as many luminari, keeping them in a deep pressure sleep state during transit. The risk was enormous, no one had attempted such a procedure on this scale before. But with time running out, there were no safe options left. The first test of the new system came aboard the transport ship, Deep Horizon. Captain Victor Santos volunteered his ship for the dangerous trial run. The luminary scientific team, led by the brilliant biotechnologist Aurora, worked alongside human medical staff to monitor the process. As the pressure sleep chambers activated, the ship's water tanks filled with a luminescent blue mist. The luminary passengers' natural glow dimmed to a soft pulse, their metabolisms slowing to a fraction of normal. The ship's systems, augmented with luminary biotech, maintained the precise pressure and chemical balance needed to keep them safe. The test was a success, but it revealed another challenge. The process of entering and exiting pressure sleep required exact timing and conditions. Any disruption during transit could be catastrophic. The fleet would need perfect coordination and split-second timing. Admiral Reyes reorganized the entire evacuation. Ships would now travel in tight groups of 5, their systems linked to share power and maintain stability. The Pathfinder Squadron, led by Captain Ortiz and Prisma, developed new transit corridors that took advantage of the star's gravitational fields to help shield the vessels from radiation. The pace of evacuation accelerated dramatically. Within weeks, they had transported another billion luminari to Earth. The new arrivals emerged from pressure sleep to find themselves in the prepared sanctuaries, where earlier evacuees had already begun building a new civilization in Earth's trenches. But the stars weren't finished challenging them. During the fourth wave of enhanced evacuation, a massive stellar flare disrupted the quantum beacon network. 30 ships, carrying over 1 million luminari in pressure sleep, lost their navigation guidance. Captain Ortiz and Prisma led a desperate rescue mission. Using their ship's enhanced sensors, they detected a phenomenon they had never seen before. The luminary passengers, even in their suspended state, were creating synchronized pressure waves that rippled through their transport tanks. "They're trying to help us find them," Prisma realized, their patterns flashing with excitement. By tracking these pressure waves, the rescue ships located and retrieved every lost vessel. As the evacuation entered its final phase, Earth's deep ocean trenches had been transformed. Where darkness once ruled, cities of living light now thrived. The luminary's bioluminescent technology had merged with Earth's marine ecosystems, creating new forms of life and communication that scientists were only beginning to understand. But time was running out. With just under 500 million luminari left to evacuate, the binary stars began their final death throes. The fleet would need to attempt something never before tried, a mass evacuation of the remaining population in a single operation. As the ships prepared for this last, desperate run, everyone knew they were about to witness either the greatest rescue in history or its most tragic failure. The final phase of Operation Deep Haven began in chaos. Long-range sensors detected catastrophic changes in both stars' cores. They had hours, not days, before total stellar collapse. Admiral Reyes mobilized every available ship in the fleet for one last, desperate mission to save the remaining luminari. "All ships, Emergency Protocol Omega," she transmitted from the Oceanus. "This is what we've trained for. Every second counts. Every life counts." The scene around the luminary homeworld was apocalyptic. The larger star had become a roiling mass of plasma, its surface erupting with solar flares that dwarfed anything previously recorded. The smaller star was imploding, creating gravitational distortions that threatened to tear apart any ship that strayed from the carefully calculated approach vectors. Governor Lumina, who had stayed behind to coordinate the final evacuation, reported from the last remaining deep-sea command center. "We've moved everyone to the emergency gathering points. But the planet's magnetic field is failing. Our pressure shields won't hold much longer." The fleet executed a precisely choreographed descent through the dying world's atmosphere. Each ship had a designated pickup zone, with luminari already organized into groups for rapid loading into pressure sleep chambers. The operation had to be completed in under 3 hours, any longer and the first ships would lose their window for escape. Captain Ortiz and the Pathfinder Squadron took up defensive positions around the fleet, using their ships' combined pressure field generators to create a protective bubble against the increasing radiation. Prisma's patterns flashed with strain as they coordinated with other luminari engineers to maintain the shield. As the loading proceeded, disaster struck. A massive gravitational wave from the collapsing smaller star hit the planet, triggering catastrophic seismic activity. The ocean floor began to crack, threatening to destroy the very pressure gradients the luminari needed to survive. "We're losing stability in zones 3 through 7, First Officer Katri reported, his voice tense. "The water's becoming superheated. We need to move faster." Admiral Reyes made a decision that would be studied in military academies for generations to come. Instead of having ships depart as they filled, she ordered the entire fleet to hold position until everyone was loaded. It was incredibly risky. If they waited too long, none of them would escape. But it was the only way to ensure no one was left behind. The loading operation became a race against physics itself. Human crews worked alongside luminari volunteers, using their combined technology to maintain pressure stability in the rapidly deteriorating conditions. The evacuation points glowed with the light of millions of luminari, their patterns a symphony of fear, hope, and determination. Just as the last transport ship reported full capacity, the smaller star began its final collapse. The gravitational forces threatened to trap the entire fleet. But here, in humanity's darkest hour, the luminari demonstrated why saving them had been worth every risk. Even in their pressure sleep state, the luminari retained a subtle connection to their natural abilities. As the gravitational forces increased, their combined presence created a massive, synchronized pressure wave throughout the fleet's water tanks. This phenomenon, totally unexpected, provided exactly the energy signature needed to power an emergency quantum jump. The luminari, Prisma communicated, their patterns bright with revelation. "They're not passengers, they're powering our escape." Admiral Reyes gave the order, and the entire fleet jumped simultaneously. The sight of 500 massive ships vanishing in a flash of light, just as the first star exploded, would be recorded by long-range sensors and preserved as one of the most dramatic moments in human history. The return to Earth was triumphant. As the final ships descended into the atmosphere, they were greeted by a spectacular display. The luminari already settled in Earth's oceans had created a massive light show visible from space, patterns of welcome and celebration that turned the world's oceans into rivers of living light. In the decades that followed, the integration of luminari culture and technology transformed Earth in ways no one could have predicted. Their presence accelerated human understanding of marine ecosystems by centuries. The deep oceans, once considered the planet's last frontier, became vibrant centers of art, science, and culture. The luminaries' ability to manipulate pressure fields revolutionized everything from space travel to energy production. Their bioluminescent communication techniques led to breakthroughs in data storage and transmission. But perhaps most importantly, their gratitude and willingness to share their knowledge helped humanity reach new heights of achievement. Admiral Reyes, speaking at the 10th anniversary of the evacuation's completion, summed up the mission's lasting impact. Operation Deep Haven began as a rescue mission to save another civilization. In the end, it saved us too, from our own limitations, from our fears of the unknown, from the idea that we were alone in our corner of the galaxy. The luminari taught us that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in resisting pressure, but in learning to flow with it, to transform it into something beautiful. Today, Earth's oceans pulse with the light of two civilizations working as one. In the darkest depths, where humans once saw only emptiness, cities of light flourish. The story of the luminary evacuation is taught in schools as a testament to what can be achieved when different species work together, and as a reminder that sometimes the greatest adventures begin with a simple choice to help others in need. As for the luminary homeworld and its binary stars, the light from their final explosion will reach Earth in a few thousand years. When it does, it will shine down on a planet where their civilization didn't end, but instead found a new beginning in the embrace of Earth's deep oceans.